Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And I recently had the pleasure of spending several beautiful days up in the mountains of New York State with my next guest as part of a larger retreat. I'm saying that quickly because it's a he. And he's a twice best-selling author and speaker who's positioned global thought leaders, shifted culture of Fortune 100, created a mindfulness video game, and helps kick-ass heart-based women to change the world. He founded the Influence with a Heart movement, and that's a mindful, compassionate approach to leadership and innovation used by more than 20,000 people. While trekking in India and almost dying, and I've heard part of that story, I don't think we've got time for it all today, he received a gift, a fire inside to serve. So today he partners with thought leaders, organizations and change makers to bring their ideas and vision and message to the world. So it's a big welcome to Ben Gioia. How are you, Ben?
Oh, super well. Thank you so much, Pat. It's an honor and a pleasure and delight to be here.
It's good to see you too. So yeah, I know this time's going to go really fast, so I'm diving right in. Have you always been entrepreneurial, Ben, or how did you start out?
A little more than 9 years ago, and I just actually celebrated my 9-year and a few day anniversary as of this as of this event. I was working for an organization and had been so impactful there that the husband of the executive director, had offered me a part-time job, like, hey, can you just help me with a couple things? And then about a year later said, hey, I'm going to go launch my online business. Can you be my director of marketing and sales? And I said, wow, George, thank you so much. I would love to. It's an honor. Is it okay that I have background in neither marketing nor sales?
So what was your background in, Ben? What did you do when you left college?
Excuse me, mostly did magazine production at the beginning on the advertising side and then on the editorial side, which actually led to launching one of the biggest magazines in the world, published in the States, AARP, the magazine. So AARP is a membership magazine organization. We were mailing to 32 million people around the world every 2 months.
Wow. What was the basis of the magazine? What was the subject?
Basically, lifestyle, health, and rights issues for people over 50 globally.
Well, that is right up the street of Hot Women Rock here. So where did you get from there? So you started off there, and is that where you...
And then spent about 3 years in the nonprofit world, the NGO world, with an organization here in the States called the ALS Association. ALS is a disease called Lou Gehrig's disease, or what Stephen Hawking had, physicist Stephen Hawking. So did a bunch of work with them, and that was all the predecessor to, looking at this organization going, hey, I see what's possible, and I want to do my own version of that.
Oh,
on
wow.
my own terms for myself.
So this trip to India, did that come between that work and where you started out on your own, or where did that fit in?
Thank you. It actually, there were 2 rounds of the ALS Association with India in between it and India right before it. So interesting time. Yeah. First time in India, I'll give the super short story version of what you heard. Almost died 4 times, or at least faced death 4 times in this 72-hour period. Bus almost going off a cliff, running from a forest fire, poisonous snake on the path, and then a mountain lion on the path. So got through all that with that, impetus and desire to serve. And, after a year at the ALS Association, I went back to India, with much more of an intention of, what do I need to do to really discover who I am and what I'm about? And went back and volunteered, and that opened up the next, amazing can of worms that totally transformed my life.
Well, we could talk a lot more about India, but let's move on with your story. So you've been asked to do this marketing job, and what happened next?
Yeah, thank you. So I said yes and jumped in, and basically this this gentleman was my singular consulting client for quite a while, so I was happily calling myself a consultant. And then after about 2 years, and I had started to receive some coaching and training, and really looking at what was possible with online marketing and being an influencer, but doing it from a place of high integrity and high ethics. I wrote my first book and launched my first brand, Marketing with a Heart. Yeah, so really just focused on the transparency, the education, the win-win-win, the non-manipulative aspect of getting your message out there to serve people, and ultimately live how you want to live by creating the transformation you want to create in the world.
That's really interesting, because I think a lot of us who are newer entrepreneurs struggle with the whole selling side, in feeling a bit icky with marketing and sales. So yeah, that work that you were doing around marketing with a heart sounds really interesting. So how did it develop from there?
Thank you. So I did that for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and was doing okay, but not great with it. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. Like, I liked it because I created it, but I wasn't passionate about it anymore. So I did about a year's worth of reflection and writing, and received some coaching. And a big part of that coaching was really, really digging into my individual purpose and how I'm expressing that. And out of that was born, not just that coaching, but that whole time was born my second brand, Influence with a Heart. And it came to me, and I thought about it, and I looked at it, and I said, wow, this is really it. This is more of who I want to be, or more of an expression of who I am. And it tells more of the story and allows for more of the transformation that I want to bring in the world.
Yeah. So what's that difference then between influence and influence with a heart?
I like to think of influence as getting people to do stuff, and influence with a heart is inviting people to see what's possible in a way that benefits them, benefits you, and ostensibly benefits the world around us.
And that's what you've continued to develop, or have you moved
Yeah.
even further?
Yeah. Still going with it, because right after I made that pivot from Marketing with a Heart to Influence with a Heart, I, within 2 months, found two of my biggest clients, a Fortune 100 company and a company that hired me for multiple speaking gigs in the States, and that led to more speaking abroad, and traveling and staying in Australia for about a month last year. um, so it seemed to work out of the gate. um, and I've been totally loving it up, cultivating it, exploring it, really understanding the depth and breadth of what Influence with a Heart means to me. And just recently, as Pat, because I was celebrating the heck out of it, I got this extra clarity around my ideal client, the person whom I most love to serve, and the person with whom I have the greatest impact. And it's who I'm describing as kick-ass, heart-based women, who want to change the world. And that was a sentence that took 9 years to write, literally. And I'm so
So
excited to have it.
yeah, so we did celebrate that.
Oh my God. I'm still celebrating it every day recently. Yeah.
Tell me more about kick-ass women. Who are these women? What sort of women are you working with?
Quite a range of, thought leaders, change makers, leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, trainers, people who are bringing their gifts, their message, their vision to life in a big way, whether they're doing it, in a solo capacity or doing it within an organization. Um, they get that a lot of things can't be done the way they've been done for, decades and decades, especially in business, and the impact that our businesses and, what we choose to do affects the world. So, getting that we need a new model, and a new way to do things. And a new model doesn't necessarily mean we have to, scrap everything that's been done, not at all. But how do we bring in, more and more of the human stuff, the empathy, the story, the connection, the mindfulness, the presence between two human beings into business, because business is one of the most powerful tools with which we can change the world.
I love it, Ben, because often when people talk about heart-centered businesses, they're normally meaning women, and they're normally meaning women who mean well, but it's kind of a bit of a soft business thing. It's not that successful. And I love the combination of kick-ass with this sort of heart-centered approach, because I know a lot of these women and they're out there and they're doing it, so I really love that combination. So this is Pat Duckworth talking to Ben Gioia. I haven't mentioned this, but he's in California, so I'm sure he's lapping up more sunshine than I'm having at the moment. So Ben, how did you, tell me a bit about your purpose in life. How would you kind of sum it up?
I want to sum it up by saying it's evolving and will continue to evolve for the rest of my life. And I want to say that to everybody who's listening, because I think a lot of people think that, you got to figure out your purpose and then you're done. And then you know everything that you're going to do because of it. It's like, no, not exactly. So for me, I grew up in a family that was very, very service oriented to the world. A lot of teachers, a lot of attorneys who are working in the public sector, really helping people out. So that was embedded already. And then as I started traveling around the world, especially South Africa was the first place where this really stood out to me. I got my first sense of, wow, there's a lot of people not living like I'm living, right? So, what can I do about that? Like, no matter what I'm doing for the rest of my life, like that's going to be on the radar for me. What can I do for people or for animals or for the earth, however that would show up for me. Excuse me. And then from there, I did that work coaching around purpose. And I came up with this beautiful articulation, which took a few weeks, don't get me wrong, that said, I'm here to inspire awakening, love, and joy, so all beings can realize their greatness, act with compassion, help more people, and live in absolute freedom.
Wow, that's big work.
That is big work, right? So that clarity was what helped me get to the concept of influence with a heart.
Yeah. And so how is that purpose developing now? Have you had any new insights into that?
Yeah, the kick-ass heart-based women part. So, from what I said before, add about 3 years of working with different clients and speaking and, the whole deal, and refining, chipping away. I think Michelangelo, they asked him, how do you know what you're sculpting? He's like, I don't, I just chip away what, shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So about 3 years of that to this. So that purpose has really clarified this group of people who I'm loving to serve these days.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point you're raising about the way purpose evolves. And it's something that I've heard from other entrepreneurs as well. So to everybody watching, don't worry if you don't think your purpose is clear, or if you've got a purpose, you think, well, done and dusted, because it isn't. It's stuff is going to happen and you're still going to keep changing, and it's an evolution. And every time you kind of, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Pat. And it's an evolution. You're evolving, and the people that you serve are evolving.
And the context that you're working in is evolving as well. I mean, we've seen so much changing in the world in the past year or two.
Oh my God.
Who would have guessed we'd be where we are now? And then how can we even start to guess where we'll be in a year's time? And, it's one of the real talents that entrepreneurs have to have, is to be flexible and to roll with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I'm such a big proponent of mindfulness and presence and meditation, as the kind of core tool to really help with the, hey, how can we be flexible and roll with it?
So how do you use mindfulness then and meditation in that context?
For myself, and encourage everyone to begin a meditation practice. Start with 1 minute a day. If If you can't start with 1 minute, start with 3 breaths a day. Sitting, eyes closed, just, feeling yourself breathing. It will change your life. um, and so that's the meditation part, say like sitting down. And then the mindfulness part is just bringing awareness in the present moment to what you're doing or what you're feeling or what you're experiencing or what you're hearing or what you're saying or thinking or whatever, without judging it. So it's just like, oh, I can feel my feet on the ground, right? Like I'm mindful of that sensation. Oh, I know that I'm talking right now. I'm mindful of that, human experience. Oh, I'm washing the dishes. I'm mindful of that, the warmth of the water on my hands. So basically, the more time we can stay in the present, be in the present, that's the place where we're calm, we're still, we're non-reactive. We get out of the way of, the story and the jumble and all the things in the brain, and that's where the intuition can shine through. That's where deep compassion shines through, and that's where the kind of the eye of the storm is, especially in some of the days and weeks and months and years of the entrepreneurial journey.
And so what has that done for your entrepreneurial journey? Do you get insights while you're meditating? Do you set an intention? Sorry, I've got so many questions.
That's okay.
So
Yeah.
do you set an intention and do you get insights from it?
Many ways to do meditation. Sometimes I set intentions, sometimes I don't. Meditation has transformed how I look at life, the universe, and my entire human experience. So it has a deeply spiritual dimension for me. And then in addition to that, um, less stressed, more creative, calmer when I'm engaging, on discovery calls with people or speaking live or, whatever the case may be, navigating conflict, literally being with more presence and listening better to people, not listening to respond, but listening to truly hear. And my leadership presence, as I've been consulting with big organizations, having to say, hey, I think this and this is why, damn it. but not from a place of like, defensive and I gotta, say my thing because everybody else said their thing. No, because, I feel from my center that this is the right thing to do next.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on and on and on and on for the benefit.
No, that's beautiful. And you will be pleased to hear I am expanding my meditation practice. So.
Congratulations.
I'm doing a good 15 minutes a day now. So
awesome. That's tremendous. Yeah. And for, everybody who's listening, meditation is a practice. It's not that's why they call it a meditation practice, not a perfect, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing a bit every day, like going to the gym, rather than saving it all up for Saturday, right? Just chip away, because the more time you spend, being in that present state, focusing your mind, kind of opening your heart, the more you are building that muscle and allowing yourself to step into that when you're not on the cushion of meditation, right?
Yeah.
Bringing it into your life, bringing it into your business, bringing it in to your interactions with your children or coworkers or whomever.
Ben, what does success mean to you in your business now?
Thank you. Success means feeling good about myself, what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with and for, and why. It means enjoying my time throughout the day and doing my work in harmony with the rest of my life, right? Like not being out of balance and out of whack. It means having consistent leads and referrals and money coming in for the things that I can best do and best offer the world, to the right people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's a good definition. And so for new entrepreneurs, you've already given us some tips, but any other tips that you would give to a new midlife entrepreneur?
Yeah. Gosh, how many days do we have? But no, I would say first and foremost, uh, very often you hear in marketing those terms of know, like, and trust. You know, you want your customers, clients, et cetera, to know, like, and trust you. I want to spin that around, and I want to invite every entrepreneur, everybody listening, and re-invite myself, and I'll invite you too, Pat. um, how do we get to know our clients and customers, the people that we best serve, so much that we know, like, or even love and trust them? So
Mm.
if we feel all of that, we must know quite a bit about them, right? So you want that level of intimacy and knowledge and clarity about your ideal client, because from there, all successes will cascade.
I like that. You're just spinning that around. That's really nice. Good. So, Ben, people watching, if they want to know more about you or the work that you do, how can they do that?
Thank you. So please visit me at influencewithaheart.com, and especially influencewithaheart.com/webinar. I have this event coming up for kick-ass heart-based women who want to change the world. It's called How I 7x'd My Income in 11 Months Without Sacrificing My Authenticity, Integrity, or Soul. And it's basically about positioning myself as a unique thought leader and all of the implications that that's had for my business. And I'm sharing tools and tips, practical strategies that people can use to do the same kind of stuff that I did.
Oh, that's lovely. And that's coming up soon. So, yeah, click on that link that's below this video so that you can get on that webinar or listen to the recording, because you're going to get some really good stuff out of that. Thank you so much, Ben. Oh, I mean, you mentioned your books. Do you want to give us some
Sure.
links for those as well?
Sure. Thank you. Just please take a look at Amazon, no matter where you are in the world, definitely in the UK, hanging out there. Marketing with a Heart, which was the first book I mentioned, and my second book, Influence with a Heart. And my name
Yeah.
is Ben Gioia. So that this smiling face on those book covers.
And I'm thinking there's not many Goyas who are going to be there. So I think you're going to find Ben pretty easy there.
Yep. Thanks,
Ben,
Pat.
thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a joy to talk to you. And yeah, good luck with that webinar. I'll be signing up.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for listening today. Take care.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And keep watching out for more of these interviews with amazing entrepreneurs. You never know what you're going to learn. See you next time.